We're about to get well and truly into the weeds here because whilst this watch says Rolex on the dial, it wasn't Rolex that put it there. This is the Artisans De Geneve Honey Green, and not only is it a Rolex that Rolex didn't make, it's also the best Rolex made today. In December 2019, Rolex successfully won a case against a company called Le Californien for benefiting and profiting from Rolex's outstanding reputation and its promotion of the company's trademark, and giving the impression that they are approved by Rolex. If you were to look at Le Californien's website today, you'd have no idea why, since it pivoted to selling lower-end colourful watches inspired by the colour palette of a Californian sunset. The business was originally set up in 2016, however, to apply that same colour scheme to Rolex watches, modifying them heavily but retaining and even reprinting the Rolex logo, which is protected by trademark law. These laws vary from country to country, but generally speaking exist to protect the identifiability of a company with its goods or services. This differs from copyright law, which protects specific pieces of work like music, film, and the written word. For example, Panerai's Crown Guard, which is as much a visual identifier of the brand as the name Panerai itself, is protected by trademark. It's within this trademark law that we encounter the rules of counterfeiting. Trademark counterfeiting is the act of using a manufacturer's trademark without permission, and it doesn't have to be as clear-cut as a simple one-to-one replica, complete with logo. In 2020, Panerai successfully won a case in China against a manufacturer whose watches looked similar to Panerai's, but not identical. The watch had a different crown, hands, logo, and markings, although altogether it clearly aspired to ape a family resemblance to Panerai. The ruling of the Chinese courts agreed, emphasizing that trademark infringement need not just be about a logo. If a business deliberately attempts to make its products difficult to distinguish from that of another company's, it is at risk of falling foul of trademark law. It's a massively grey area and one businesses actively have to stay on top of. In 2020, Lewis Hamilton lost a lawsuit against watchmaker Hamilton that had originally intended to ban the watchmaker from using the Hamilton name, which it had been using since 1892. It sounds absolutely ridiculous and borderline narcissistic of the F1 driver to do such a thing, but the truth is a little more complicated than the media would have you think. What do the words aspirin, heroin, and laundromat all have in common? They're trademarks that have since become genericized. That is to say, the general public have used these terms so ubiquitously that they have ceased to represent the brands that created them and are no longer protected by trademark law. Manufacturers have to actively insist on the manner of use of their protected trademarks to prevent this from happening. Delicious Coca-Cola brand carbonated soft drink. In the case of Lewis Hamilton, his risk didn't lie with the public, but with the watchmaker itself. Lewis's legal team determined a vulnerability in selling timepieces with his branding, and took the decision to actively demonstrate its desire to protect its right to make them. The intention was never to prevent the original Hamilton from making watches, but to make it harder for the roles to be reversed, and for Hamilton to try and prevent Lewis from making watches. When it comes to customization, things don't get any easier. In 2021, Nike pursued a case against MSCHF, who collaborated with Lil Nas X to produce a modified version of the Nike Air Max 97 trainer in a satanic theme. Nike argued that the implied association could be damaging to the brand, and so MSCHF voluntarily recalled the shoes as part of a settlement. And so we have a tangled web of trademark law that, when it comes to customization, is very, very treacherous. Le Californien fell in 2018, yet Artisans De Geneve continues on. What's going on? If you want to help support my channel, why not take a look at one of my books? I've written a few. Link is in the description. Thanks very much. Perhaps you're familiar with the brand Singer, known best for its incredible classic Porsche 911 restorations. You'll notice a Singer restored car is never referred to by the brand as a Singer 911 or a Singer Porsche, but as a Porsche 911 reimagined by Singer. In fact, there's a whole blurb at the bottom of the site that says things like, Singer does not manufacture or sell automobiles, and Singer is not in any way affiliated with Porsche. It even says, out of respect for Porsche, and to respect Porsche's trademark rights, this incredible machine should never, under any circumstances, be referred to or described as a Singer 911, Singer Porsche 911, or a Porsche Singer 911, or in any other manner that suggests it is anything but a Porsche 911 that has been restored and reimagined by Singer. The point Singer is trying to make is that it doesn't sell any products with the Porsche trademark, be it branding or shape or anything else that could be immediately recognised as the Porsche family identity. When you buy a Singer, you have to provide the donor car yourself, or if Singer helps you find the right donor car, buy it yourself and provide it to Singer for customization. Putting it simply, if Singer never owns the car, then it can never sell the car. If it doesn't sell the car, it is not responsible for selling goods that infringe trademark and could be deemed as counterfeit. If Singer only ever reimagines a customer car, its association with the trademark is safe, and it bears no responsibility. That's the angle Artisans De Geneve have taken. It too has a blurb at the bottom of its site saying things like, Artisans De Geneve is an artisan workshop that does not manufacture or sell watches, and we are not affiliated with Rolex SA nor authorised by them to intervene on their products for any reason whatsoever. It even says this personalisation was ordered by a customer who owns a Rolex timepiece for his private use. Any responsibility towards the owner of the transformed watch and/or third parties is specifically excluded. All that is to say that Artisans De Geneve pitched this honey green reimagining of an existing Daytona, to borrow Singer's phrase, as a one-off customization of a piece purchased independently by one of its customers, thus allowing it to reproduce the Rolex trademark without fear, or at least with reduced fear, of being sued. To be honest, I see this from both sides of the fence. Rolex needs to protect a mark it's worked tirelessly to grow, and customers should be allowed to modify products they own however they like. Artisans De Geneve exists to do that, so long as it does so on an individual basis and never actively sells the products it modifies. Does that mean the honey green is a one-off? You'll have to get in touch with Artisans De Geneve about your own Daytona and see. Ultimately, what underpins this whole argument for me from the side of the customer is that the honey green is, in my opinion at least, the finest looking watch to ever wear the Rolex name. The modifications are extensive, with the donor yellow gold Daytona not just receiving a revised green and gold dial with updated markers and specifically a reprinted Rolex logo, but refinished green and gold hands, a green and gold Bakelite bezel insert, a reprofiled case with domed sapphire crystal and vintage-inspired pushers. The rotor has also been remade in gold and the caliber 4130 refinished to a much higher standard and placed behind a sapphire casebag. It is without a doubt an absolutely stunning watch and one I would personally take over any other Rolex officially manufactured by the brand. Is it disingenuous for it to continue to wear the Rolex logo? Much of the watch, especially its heart, are, while modified, still originally manufactured by Rolex. A Porsche 911 reimagined by Singer still wears a Porsche badge. In cold black and white, Artisans De Geneve would have ceased business under a trademark counterfeit lawsuit a long time ago if it bought Rolex watches, customized them and resold them. In the eyes of the law, these are fake watches, and the repeated insistence that it modifies private customers' watches demonstrates it's very well aware of that. It is trading, therefore, under a loophole. But like Singer, the reality is that the work it does actually exceeds the quality of the original manufacturer, and for that reason, its existence should be considered through a slightly altered lens. This isn't a brand selling cut-price imitations. Rolex would need to demonstrate that Artisans De Geneve was damaging the reputation of Rolex with its products if it has any hope of shutting them down. I suppose you could say that that is the case in a roundabout way, that it is kind of damaging Rolex's reputation, since the honey green is just so much better in every way. What do you think of customization companies like Artisans De Geneve? Do you think they should be allowed to continue using the Rolex trademark? And what do you think the honey gold means for Rolex? Should the Swiss watchmaker be upping its game? Let me know in the comments below. Please also like and subscribe. Check me out over on the Watchfinder channel, and I'll see you next time.